let's bring in our great special guest for today, media strategist and also the host of the 13-minute news hour, Bobby Eberle. And also we continue with our other great special guest. This is a special guest bonanza, which I love, Gene Valentino. He is a political and social commentator. Bobby, let's get to you because, you know, there was an important point that she just brought up, Congresswoman Malliotakis, saying that the world was watching how we left allies there. We left equipment behind. We left so much behind. And that also could explain why so many other evildoers are taking advantage of this moment. Your reaction to just what a blemish that was and how important it is to have good leadership in the White House.
Well, yeah, absolutely. What the viewers should realize is that Biden was kind of riding a high, right? The media was all, he's the greatest thing ever. He defeated Trump. And the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the tragedy that it was, the fiasco that it was the beginning of the end, really, of Biden. Forget, you know, mental competency, but just as overall leadership, as you alluded to, on the world stage, what kind of message does this send to people? He failed. And since August of 2021, he has never recovered. I mean, to disregard the warning signs, multiple warning signs, and to leave Americans behind. I mean, that is the trademark. We just don't do that. And it did. It showed it emboldened China, it emboldened Russia, it emboldened all these countries, the Middle East, to take action, to go against the United States. We see it over and over again, and it all started right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Gene, your thoughts too, because you look at it, if you're Russia, you go, okay, maybe now here's the time. You look at Iran, you say, okay, the world is on fire right now. And I think the most important thing for Americans when they go to the voting booth, who do you want to pick up the phone when it's that 3 a.m. call? And sadly, there's a lot of 3 a.m. calls going on right now. Your thoughts, Gene?
Well, we're watching in plain view a diversion, a deflection, and a distraction. I call them Gino's 3Ds. It's a way of taking your attention off the hot issue. Since that Afghan departure, we have seen a complete debacle and mismanagement of our national security and operation of government. Not to mention a parallel path to try to take down Trump from getting back into office. But to this point, we have seen her in the Situation Room with the president agreeing that this was a bona fide exit strategy. Shame on them. We need to recover from this.
Yeah, great points. And also, no one held accountable, which is something that President Trump brought up during the debate. They haven't fired anyone for that disastrous withdrawal.
And she was the last in the room.
Yeah, last in the room. That's right. That's right, Bobby. You guys stick around. I love having both of you guys today. This is a great day. Thank you very much. Let's bring back our great special guest for today, media strategist and the host of the 13-minute news hour, Bobby Eberle. And also with us here is Gene Valentino. He is a political and social commentator. Bobby, your reaction, first off, to the fact that there will be another debate, and it's going to be with J.D. Vance and, of course, Tim Walz, the governor. Boy, I actually can't wait to watch that one, you know, because it's like two different worlds apart. How important do you think the VP debate this time may be, which is going to be October 1st?
I think it's going to really be important because people are looking at, you know, how do you regroup or rebound on both sides from the presidential debate, because I doubt there will be a third one or a second one for Harris and Trump. So you're going to be seeing these guys trying to be the true surrogates of those campaigns and representing a real message. I think it'll be focused. I think J.D. Vance is going to dominate. If you were playing debate bingo, you'd probably look for the word weird, because I think Walz is going to keep coming back to that and coming back to that. But there's going to be no substance on that side except radical Marxism. That is what they are pushing. And Kamala Harris, with the word salads, she just confuses people, and they don't realize how radical this team is. Hopefully that comes out in the Vance-Walz debate.
Yeah, and there's a lot to go after, Gene. I mean, boy, every time I think of Tim Walz, I think of letting Minneapolis burn, his wife romanticizing about the burning smell. And he's got a lot of wild policies. So the key is for J.D. Vance to really bring that out. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I certainly hope he does. I just wished it was on Newsmax, and I hope whoever the next debate is with after J.D.'s debate is with is here on Newsmax. But to your point, I think it's absolutely clear that there has been a debate process that has not been fair and balanced, that it was one-sided, at least recently. And I think it's important that we step up now and make sure that both sides are judiciously interviewed with a fair and balanced approach. Rita, that's been my concern all along. Not what network it's on necessarily, but the issue of ethics and fairness, the veracity of the interview process.
Yeah.
It has to be fair and balanced, regardless of what network's on. I hope it's Newsmax, though.
Yeah, I wish it was. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that one. And also, I have no problem, guys, with a tough debate as long as it's tough to both sides.
Right.
It's a complete disservice
Not
to
3 on
America.
1.
I agree. Yeah, 3-on-1. That's not a debate. That's an ambush. Guys, thank you very much. Stick around. A lot more ahead.
Climate change, January 6th, fact-checking Donald Trump, and mouths closed when Kamala Harris lied. That was how it went at the ambush that ABC called a debate this past week. But it didn't seem to matter to voters. The numbers haven't really changed, and Trump actually gained in some cases, like in Michigan. So let's talk about the debate with GOP strategist and host of 13-Minute News Hour, Bobby Eberle. Also with us is media strategist and host of the podcast, What's Bugging Me, Dennis Neal. Everything's bugging us.
Right, exactly.
Everyone's bugging this whole country.
It's an apt title.
Yeah. So, when you have two liberal moderators from a liberal network who can be heroes to the left by beating up, the orange man, it's not a surprise, Dennis, I'll start with you, that they teamed up to help Kamala.
And that's not the surprise. And as I say on my new episode of What's Bugging Me, it's hard to even get in an uproar about it anymore. It's hard to even get upset because this is what they do. The surprise is how many people have noticed it on social media. The surprise is that CNN, as liberal a media outlet as you will find, fact-checked ABC News and said, hey, man, they failed. There's the surprise, is the broader public recognition of something that conservative viewers have long known.
Well, to be honest, it wasn't going to be easy with that bunch. Trump had to know that. It can't really be an excuse. He's been answering these questions forever, and should he have been a little more prepared or not taking the big?
I think he did better than everyone else thinks, right? I think he got in some haymakers
I do
there,
too. You know what's interesting? If you read the transcript, as I did, it's a very different version than if you watched it.
Exactly.
And you realize he actually did get more haymakers and make more sense than she did.
And I think it's because she fell into that trap. People fell into the trap of seeing her scripted, seeing non-word salads, she was being fed and aided by the media, but it made for the TV that they wanted. And when you go back and you look at it in retrospect, everything keeps trending, as Dennis said, Trump's way. And North Carolina just had a new poll, and that's favoring Trump.
Yeah.
So the little bounce they hoped for is non-existent.
What'd you think? And also radio, too. It's sort of like 1960.
This is right back to Kennedy, Nixon, and the 5 o'clock shadow.
And Trump had a little sweat over his lip, too.
Sure. But I got to tell you, he was really trying to go about policy. Now, as a crisis advisor, you would tell your client, don't go down into that tangle. Don't combat her on everything. In fact, ignore it and say the points you want to make. When he was at his best was when he was talking about how awful her record was, how awful the Biden administration's record was. But then, can we just talk about Kittygate? Can we talk about when Trump had the nerve to say, there are reports that they're eating cats and dogs, Haitian immigrants, and it turned into a meme all over social media. They turned it into songs. People are doing dances to it. The original guy who first put up one of the first ones was mortified because he is a liberal and he wanted to make fun of Trump. And instead, Trump's supporters grabbed that and ran with it. And you know what? It's so much more fun if Donald Trump gets elected than it will be if Kamala gets elected. This is a fun guy.
So everyone mocked him for saying that. You're right. And everyone kind of cringed and they attacked him. But here's what it did. Everyone now is focusing on Springfield, seeing how overrun it is because of the policy.
Exactly.
So that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Yes.
We've gone away from the cats and dogs, and we're talking about 15,000 Haitians now. They're getting everything.
And the media are only going after. It's not true that they eat cats and dogs.
They're on the
Maybe some
defense
geese
for
and
sure.
ducks, but it's not true. But then they're not covering that
geese are
20,000 immigrants went into a town of 60,000 with federal funding and overtook the town. And there are 2 people who have died in car accidents because they are bad, et cetera. And no one's covering that. And the media, instead of going to it, it's like my beloved Wall Street Journal. I'm an alumni of that paper. They're saying, oh, the false claim that, well, you don't know it's false. You know, the city manager says we've had no reports.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it false. You know, the thing in the newsroom was, if you're there at midnight alone and there's a fire, what do you do? What do you do? You go there.
Exactly.
The media aren't going there to Springfield.
No.
Right.
No. So we may or may not get a second debate between those two. Trump's down 2 now. I mean, he's done a zillion, right? If you're going back to 16. There's questions of whether or not either one of them should go for a second debate. But here's the thing. And I'll start with you, Bobby. What's it actually going to take for America to get an actual debate with real moderators and issues and questions that matter to normal people, not the ones sipping Chardonnay on the Hamptons?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think we're going to see that in this election cycle. I just don't. I think when Harris's team sits down to say, hey, do we really want to do that again, they're going to realize that, you know what, we didn't do as good as we thought, you know, when you look at it. And so they don't want to have anything to do with it. And I think Trump, right now, he can put those issues out. And again, there were 3 things that came out of the debate that were just, you didn't see it at first until retrospect. 1 is this focus on Springfield. 2 is the radical nature of the Democrats on abortion, because they opened that up. And 3, the travesty of the media on a 3-on-1 debate. The American people see that, and this is where the left always overestimates or underestimates the reaction. They think they can put this over on the American people, and people are reacting differently now. And that they're just not going to have it. The censorship that we saw in 2020 that carried on to people getting blocked and banned is now, we've had enough. And that was laid bare for everybody to see and obvious in this debate.
Yep. What do you think? We're going to actually get real questions that matter or not?
You know, well, that'll never happen. I'm kind of sorry, though, that Trump has now said, no, there will be no further debate.
But he did say yesterday, it depends on my mood.
You know what? You know what? He does this for negotiating reasons.
Yes.
He creates obstacles so that he then can remove them
Yeah.
and take the victory. He does this when he negotiates deals as well, real estate deals. And I think maybe he's doing that. Now, the thing is, every time it gives her a chance, the only reason anyone thinks that she won that debate, because I watched it that night and I thought he won, is because she lowered our expectations. This is what I would argue when I used to date a lot, you know, in the 90s. I'd say, you know, you got to lower your expectations and then go out with me. And she lowered ours.
That's right.
Ding dong.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Right.
You see, it's
And I don't think there's going to be one, because with the interview she just gave, couldn't answer anything about basic economic policy.
No.
They see that, her handlers see that. There's no way they want to put her in with the scrutiny that the media will get, whatever network it is, for the next one.
Bobby Eberle, good to have you from Texas.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Dennis Neal, good to have you from Brooklyn.
Great to see you.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.